Hello everybody, I'm Victoria Weather Meteorologist Ryan Henning, and I just wanted to start the month off strong with a look at what's to come this month, as well as look at the more immediate future of the next 1 to 2 weeks. But before we get to that, I haven't announced the forecast for the month for the first month of the year, January, of course, if you aren't familiar with how calendars work. And it was the Weather Channel. It was really a two-horse race for most of the month between the Weather Channel and Victoria Weather. We did come in second, but the two of us were far and away better than the rest of the forecast outlets. So that's something to be proud of. Of course, we are a little bit more personable and I would say more handsome than the Weather Channel. But it was us two, so congratulations to the Weather Channel, and hopefully we can take them down in February. Alright, so let's take a look at what the Climate Prediction Center has to say about the next month first. And you can see it looks like it's going to be well above average, and particularly in the desert Southwest. Above average, but not as far above average for most of the rest of the continental U.S., a little chillier in Alaska. And again, this is compared to average. This is compared to normal, so it's not, going to be 110 in Phoenix in February. But if the forecast highs, the average highs are like 65, then you might see more days than average that are in the mid to upper 70s. And that's kind of the trend we'll look forward to in the month of February. And you can kind of tell exactly how it's going to happen if you look at the precip forecast as well. And you can see how much of the Pacific Northwest is going to be well above average. You can see Oregon, Southern Washington, Northern Idaho, are going to be significant. They have a significant chance of being above average in terms of the precip, which means they're going to get slammed with the Gulf of Alaska type storms. And they have been seeing it. It's been a very busy winter for the Pacific Northwest, particularly around Portland, where the Cascades and Mount Hood are seeing just a ton of snow this year. And with that, with the specific systems, you don't typically see as much snow in the plains, just because you don't have moisture coming off the Gulf. You have it coming off the Pacific. The Rockies intercept all that, and it doesn't typically reach all that far out. There is another bit of a maximum over the Great Lakes, because that's another area of weak cyclogenesis, and that can draw in from the Atlantic. So these troughs that move off the Pacific Ocean can move into the plains, hook up with a little bit of Gulf Stream moisture and energy, and redevelop out here. Then you've got the Appalachians, which can also induce their own showers and snow showers. And that's why it extends down towards Kentucky and the Smoky Mountains, and that's basically what we're looking for. That's that moisture out in the Pacific Northwest, and even this below normal threat centered around El Paso is pretty significant. It's really unusual to see that high percentage chance of above or below normal temperature, precip or temperature for that matter, for an entire month. And to forecast with that degree of confidence, I would have to suspect that the CPC is looking at the next 6 to 10 days and seeing a significant threat of those things. So here's the temperature forecast for the next 6 to 10 days, like I was discussing. And you can see the plains are 90 to 100% chance of being above normal for the next week or week and a half. That's incredible. Most of the continental 48, the lower 48, whatever you want to call it, is above normal. Just the Pacific Northwest, Eastern Washington, and Maine are not going to be above normal this week. And between the two mountain ranges, the Rockies and the Appalachians, it's a very good chance, better than 60%, that we're going to be above normal for temperatures this week. And of course, that doesn't mean, like I said, it's going to be in the 90s. It's February after all. But for example, in Minneapolis, the forecast high this time of year is about the low 20s. So we can expect several more days above freezing than we're used to for the beginning of February. And if we look at the precip maps, I think this will be quite telling in what we can expect this week. First off, the activity in or the above average forecast for the Great Lakes down towards the lower Mississippi Valley, that's all entirely focused on one system that's going to hit the Great Lakes and move into New England. It's going to organize at the tail end of a system that is currently ongoing in the Pacific Northwest, and reorganize through those means that I had indicated earlier. There's a trough that's going to be able to tap into some of the energy off the Gulf Stream and really develop quickly out there, bringing some rain, snow, maybe even some blizzard-like conditions to the southern Great Lakes if we play our cards right. But the thing that intrigues me is how well you can really figure out what's going on by looking at the Pacific Northwest and the plains. So currently there is an area of low pressure centered just to the west of Vancouver Island, and it's contributing a southwesterly flow into the Pacific Northwest. It's organizing. They're going to get slammed from western Washington down to northern California. And then further inland, just the southwesterly flow, even if there's not a synoptic feature right there, it's going to intersect with the mountains, and you're going to see more precip for the northern Rockies from northern Idaho down towards western Colorado. Now, when that happens, you are drawing all your moisture off the Pacific Ocean, it intersects with the Rockies, and it very rarely reaches the plains. And the plains usually see their moisture drawn from the Gulf of Mexico, so in order to get moisture there, you need a system that develops east of the Rockies. So those lee troughs that we see, that in the winter, the most snow usually from the plains are the systems that develop down around the Texas Panhandle. We call those Texas hookers because that was invented before the entire morality of the United States went downhill. We all turned into juveniles, and now it's funny. So when a system comes out through the northern Rockies, there's just no moisture for the plains, and we're going to be below normal despite all the activity to the west and to the east. And that's something that we can actually see by looking at the forecast models right now. So here's that area of low pressure west of Vancouver Island that I was mentioning, with a pretty steady precip in the Pacific Northwest, and we can track it as it redevelops. You can basically tell where that upper level trough is as you progress towards the Great Lakes, and then it organizes over Michigan and it slams the New England and the East Coast. But also you can see in the plains, there is nothing going on here. You can see just a weak signal of precip as the system gets organized in Michigan, but while it's moving through the northern Rockies, there's really nothing to speak of from the Dakotas all the way down to Texas. And as we move forward, we can see another round of wet weather moving into the Pacific Northwest. Just some detritus from a couple of different systems moving through the center of the country, but not really anything of major significance. We're going to see the warm front redevelop over Canada. We're going to see these red isohypses indicating temperatures that are likely to be above freezing at the surface, move all the way to the Canadian border, and that's when you're going to get your significantly above normal temperatures in the plains. So it looks like a warm weekend, very wet for the Pacific Northwest. Could be kind of nasty also early next week in the Great Lakes area, but it looks like we're in for a warm month ahead. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. If you need or if you're concerned about any particular weather pattern, please feel free to reach out to us at Victoria Weather. It's victoriawx@gmail.com. Otherwise, you can use the Request a Forecast button at the top of this page or the panel on the left. I am Victoria Weather meteorologist Ryan Henning, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend.